Morning and apologies for the late start. We had some technical difficulties, so my sincere apologies and thank you for waiting. So this morning I am really excited to welcome back some of our customers in person. So for those joining online, we also have persons in-house with us at the AC Hotel in Jamaica. And so we're welcoming back customers face-to-face since the pandemic. So really delighted to have you. I am Sandra Jones and I am head of marketing for Fujitsu, Caribbean and Latin America. And I have the pleasure of being your chair for today's session. And joining us are our partners Checkpoint. So we are off to a late start already, so I won't spend too much time, but you know why we're here. Today we're here because we want to delve into the topic of cloud security. And we know that as organizations continue to adopt the cloud, it becomes more complex and secure. The emerging threats. So give you some guidance in terms of some of the challenges that we know you're facing in your own organization and provide you with some practical guidance in terms of the next steps and how to develop a scalable, agile, comprehensive cloud security strategy. So with that said, I'm going to introduce our speakers. With me in Kingston, Jamaica, I have Ronald Godinez. Ronald, if you could just, Ronald is responsible for the cloud portfolio at Checkpoint for Latin America. And online, I'm going to start with the Fujitsu speaker, Jermaine Golding. Jermaine is our senior cloud engineer. And next we have Grant Asplund, and Grant is a cloud technologist for Checkpoint. Hi. Okay.
Hi.
Also have Jeremy Castleman, and Jeremy is the head of cloud sales for Latin America. Welcome, Jeremy. And we also have Andrew Dixon, who is our VP for Enterprise Cybersecurity at Fujitsu in the Caribbean.
Hello.
Hi, Andrew. Okay, so with that said, with the introductions out of the way, let's get started. And we're going to kick things off with Jermaine, who is going to talk to you about what is cloud security, potential considerations, how do you navigate the complex journey of security, especially as it relates to the cloud. And hopefully coming out of that, you'll get some insights. Jermaine will be followed by a conversation in cybersecurity. And it will be a real life conversation between Jeremy and Grant, and they're going to be talking to their CEO. And we know that this is now a boardroom discussion. So how do you take this back to your security and convince them of the importance, the relevance, and why you need to invest? So that conversation will help you to go back to your own organizations to have the cybersecurity conversation as it relates to cloud security. And then we will have Ronald, who will then share with you some solutions that you can implement or you can consider. And then after the conversation in cybersecurity, we'll have a Q&A, but please feel free to share your questions if you're online in the Zoom chat. And if you're here with us in person, file your questions. If it's a burning question, we absolutely do not have any challenges if you raise a hand and say, hey, I have a question. So we want to make it as interactive as possible. We want to make it engaging. And most importantly, we want to ensure that you leave here with value. So with that said, I'm going to hand over to Jermaine. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy. Thank you, everyone, for joining us to discuss this important topic on building a cloud security approach. I am Jermaine Golden, as Sandy said, and I'm an engineer at Fujitsu on the cybersecurity team. I've worked with Checkpoint, who has been leaders in the cybersecurity space for over 22 years. And 17 of those years, Fujitsu has been a strategic partner. So combined, we have a wealth of experience with cybersecurity. Before we dive in, I will share a quote with you by John Maxwell. Change is inevitable, growth is optional. Today, we're going to talk about the strategy in going cloud, the main concerns, look at the shared responsibility model, the risks involved with cloud transformation, and how Fujitsu, in partnership with Checkpoint, can help you in addressing those concerns in securing your data in the cloud. There are certain things in every organization that grow organically. Most obvious are memory, storage, and processing. As your business expands, you're going to need these resources more often and at faster intervals. Acquiring these resources is complicated by lengthy procurement processes. Not to mention the time it takes to set up these equipment and adapt to your business. And obviously there are costs associated with the traditional networking, such as annual fees for technical support, hardware refresh, increased electricity bill, just to name a few. Businesses who cannot adapt with the speed and agility that is needed in the modern market will not be able to compete in the global market. The only platform that allows you to move with the necessary agility in order to be competitive is in the cloud. The cloud addresses the aforementioned challenges of traditional networking. It allows you to have expanded capacity in a shorter time frame, and cloud is made for you. It provides the mobility where you can access your data and software from anytime, at anywhere, from any device. It is agile, where you can rapidly develop, test, and launch your software application that drive your business growth. It is dynamic, allows you to balance your resources and costs between private and public clouds, as well as the flexibility to adapt quickly to changes in the market and technologies itself. It is elastic, where it allows you to have extended capacity for your CPU, memory, and storage. These resources adapt to the changing demands of your organization. Cloud enables you to expand and grow your business rapidly, keeping with the growing demands of this competitive market. This transition does not come in isolation, as you need to incorporate security in your cloud strategy. It is natural for us to be apprehensive and worry about the security of our data, especially when we don't know where it is located. The speed and agility that the cloud provides gives the impression that it must be expensive or costly. The division of responsibilities introduces blurred lines when it comes to who is responsible to secure what. These are some of the major concerns of our clients, and we want to have as many conversations with you to unblur these lines and give you that peace of mind when it comes to securing your data in your digital transformation journey. Gartner predicted in this year, 2022, that 95% of security failures are caused by the customer. 2/3 of organizations see security as the biggest challenge in their cloud adoption. In order to remain competitive, you have a responsibility to be agile, flexible, and expansive, but you also have to do it securely. Especially now with the Data Protection Act, where you can suffer crippling sanctions if it is deemed that the appropriate system and operational controls are not in place to protect personally identifiable information. You have a greater responsibility to incorporate security in every step of your journey and no longer after the fact. Fujitsu and Checkpoint, we are the enablers that will help you to build your IT infrastructure and secure an infrastructure that complements your growth. In the effort to unblur these lines, let's look at the shared responsibility model. This is from the Center of Internet Security, or CIS framework, as some of us may know it, where It clearly outlines the security roles and responsibilities for the cloud service offerings end to end. Security is a partnership between you and the cloud provider, and you are responsible for most of it. Cloud, simply put, is just a data center or a computer room somewhere else owned by someone else. The term cloud does not mean the absence of a physical infrastructure. And in terms of security, that's where the cloud service provider puts their focus, the physical infrastructure. Now, let me use my laser pointer here. So if you look at at the column for on-premise and the security responsibility, you are responsible for security. You are responsible and accountable for the security of your entire infrastructure for your on-premise equipment and data. If you compare that with the infrastructure as a service, the cloud provider is responsible for the physical infrastructure, the hosts and hypervisors and networking between these hypervisors. The cloud provider is responsible for that, but it is shared. So you are responsible for the virtual machines and the networking controls that are on the cloud and everything else. And if you can see, what is consistent here is that you are always going to be responsible for your data, responsible and accountable. Another way to look at the shared responsibility model, to simplify it, we look at this here, where the cloud provider is always going to be responsible for their physical infrastructure. And you can assume you have a role in responsibility, securing your data and everything else. We'll come back to that slide. This is what a modern cloud infrastructure will look like. Well, somewhat. The modern infrastructure will have multiple cloud service providers, usually different vendors, different services, with private cloud, public cloud, multi-cloud, hybrid cloud, all communicating in this lovely mesh design, with each cloud vendor offering their own flavor of security controls with varying granularity. This introduces an ad hoc security model with varying levels of compliance. As security experts, one of the main tenets of good security governance is simplicity. The combined partnership with Checkpoint and Fujitsu will help you to simplify your security model by using the same industry standard controls across your platforms. We unify your security controls by leveraging the same infrastructure used to secure your on-premise infrastructure as your cloud infrastructure. We centralize your security by using a single pane of glass to view and control your modern digital infrastructure. Fujitsu's cybersecurity services will help you manage your response to laws and regulations and directives specific to your sector, as well as those which protect people and society. Fujitsu, in collaboration with Checkpoint, will enable you to transition effectively to your cloud security strategy. With our security operations, or SOC as we call it, constantly monitors your cloud infrastructure, check your controls against industry standards. We can leverage the cloud native log correlation platforms and layer that on top of our SOC services, or layer our SOC services on top of it, sorry. Checkpoint will provide the centralized security model with the ability to share policies and rules across cloud platforms. Fujitsu will provide that 360 visibility of security events, trends, posture, as well as guaranteeing data sovereignty of your security events and reporting. Checkpoint provides that unified security control will simplify your security model. In the end, Fujitsu, in collaboration with Checkpoint, will give you that peace of mind and the ability to control your destiny towards your digital transformation securely. To find out more about our cybersecurity offerings, please visit our website here, and I will post it in the chat. We invite you to grow with the Fujitsu and Checkpoint partnership. And remember, change is inevitable. Growth is optional. Contact us for more technical discussions and allow us to help you to achieve your digital transformation securely. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jermaine. We have a question.
Yes, Sandy, we have a question here in the chat from Kevin. Two questions, actually. So let's deal with the first one. Where is the cost-benefit analysis of cloud versus on-prem, or a combination of both? That's an excellent question. I would love to answer it with you. But as you are requesting a cost-benefit analysis, we would need to work with you to look at what is your current on-prem estate, and then look at the comparison of how we could leverage the benefits of cloud and which cloud. As Jeremy pointed out, the cloud journey may not be one destination, it could be multiple cloud providers and services. So let's have a conversation. For the second question, it seems to be a suppose scenario. Suppose your cloud was in Russia and backed up in Ukraine, what would you do now? Well, two interesting scenarios. Hopefully that's not where you have your cloud services coming from. However, like cloud is elastic. Cloud can expand. It is mobile and agile, as Jeremy pointed out as well. It is a matter of changing the location of services and doing the migration accordingly. And again, we're happy to work with you if you find yourself in such a scenario to get that done as securely and seamlessly as possible. I think those are the questions that we have.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. So I'm just going to do a quick introduction of our VP sales for West Caribbean, Stacey Ann Budai. Stacey? Yes, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry, it feels like we've been here all morning. Welcome. Do enjoy the event. I'm positive that you'll find it very productive and good use of your time. There's a wealth of information and knowledge between our partners, Checkpoint, and of course ourselves and our teams. So please take advantage of all of the resources available to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Stacey. Okay, so now we get to the exciting part. And Jermaine, I'm not by any stretch or in any way trying to suggest that you were not exciting. But now we're going to have a conversation between Jeremy and Grant. And the conversation is going to help you how to shift the mindset in your organization, how to approach the topic of cloud security. So with that said, I am going to hand over to Grant and Jeremy.
Terrific. Thank you. Thank you very much. Hey, Jeremy, it's great to be with you virtually, and everyone else. Thank you very much. Jermaine, I have to say, excellent presentation in terms of really articulating the unique aspects and attributes of the cloud, the elasticity, it brings so many things that I think, David, your question about total cost of ownership, Andrew, spot on, but you have to remember, how do you assess the ability to scale to a demand that goes 1,000% for an hour and then goes back to zero? right? I mean, those are some of the amazing things about the cloud. And I'm excited to talk with you, Jeremy, about this whole journey. You know, the topic was my CEO told me we need to move to the cloud. What's the big deal? And this was a presentation I actually did a while ago. And so, Jeremy, I'm going to talk to you because you're clearly got your feet on the street, belly to belly with a lot of customers and understand the market. So what's really the undercurrent? What's driving this? Hey, would you move? You need to move to a private cloud off of on-prem. What's really driving that?
Thanks, Grant. And first, let's test my audio. Can you hear me okay?
Hear you terrifically.
Well, great. Thanks for having us and allowing this conversation to happen. Grant, it's a great question. Why am I being told to go to the cloud? And I think Jermaine did hit spot on. There's a lot of technical reasons, the agility, trying to arrive at a state where you're dynamic and elastic through automation. One thing I didn't hear him touch on is high availability, disaster recovery. A lot of times if the physical world, say a storm comes through, something happens that levels the data center, having that backup in the cloud. That's all the technical reasons, but what I'm really seeing driving cloud adoption is the customers. Our customers out there, the users out there of our data are asking to have it presented to them in this elastic, high availability state. Some examples I'll throw out there that I'm really bogged down with in the day-to-day. Financial institutions, they want to have mobile apps on their phones, their mobile devices, so their users can access their financial data quick and easily, and they can have it updated in real time. Think about the healthcare industry. We have patients wanting a patient portal where they can get lab results, test results, their medical history, and they can move it from one doctor to another, from one facility to another. It has to have that's high availability in that sense. I think the customers are really driving it, and therefore the technology is having to respond to that need.
So let's talk a little bit about this. I mean, we all had on-premise, then we kind of went through the virtualization phenomenon, right? Thank you, VMware. And we all know about sprawl and the need for different tools, right? New tools that we didn't have the need for before. So now there's this push to private cloud and then subsequently public cloud. And I guess I just want to find out about, that journey.
Yeah, the private cloud is the first step. That private cloud step is challenging. I think the first problem we need to solve there is you're reliant on the physical firewall to inspect your traffic in your data center. But once you go to a private cloud, a virtualized cloud, there's no physical firewall you can put inside a VMware ESXi host.
Right.
And so we at Checkpoint, one of the first cybersecurity partners out there or vendors out there to come up with a virtual version of our firewall. And quite simply, we were successful because the name of the company is Checkpoint Software. We're not Checkpoint Hardware.
Right.
And we could lift that same best-in-class enterprise firewall software from the physical box, divorce it, and drop it into a VM inside the virtualized cloud. And it's been quite successful in that drives, most of where our activity is today is securing that private cloud. But think about the problem if you do not do that. And what I'm saying is if you have to go with a third party to secure your traffic inside a virtualized cloud, now you have a different management, a different portal, a different set of features and tools, maybe different language, a whole different set of skills that our network security professionals are going to have to learn. So I think that the simplify statement that Jermaine made in his slide was spot on. Simple, it's the same firewall. You deploy it into your private cloud. You use the same manager, the same tools. You don't have to learn anything new. And you can deploy policy consistently from your physical world now into your virtualized private data center.
So now I've got my private data center, but there's quite a push for public, right? To move to public cloud. And I mean, a lot of the public cloud providers are saying, hey, I provide all the security you need. So that seems to conflict, but I'll point out one data point that I'll just mix in, and that is some 93% surveyed actually are multi-cloud, right? I mean, that I'm kind of throwing you a softball. That's what we know ends up making it difficult, because AWS is likely not going to build superior security for Google, right?
Well, of course, yeah, the multi-cloud complexity is obviously something that will be a concern for all of our users. But let's look at your statement of the next logical step is going into public cloud. Why go back to the question you asked me? Why are our customers adopting private cloud? Well, why are they jumping to public cloud? We
Right.
touched on it at the beginning of the conversation with the customers driving that. But there's also a boardroom push, because currently in the state of the pandemic, we had to accelerate that digital transformation. Obviously,
Right.
people weren't able to get into the data center, so we had to have everything exposed out to the public cloud, for access. Well, I don't know about the customers here listening today, but most of the ones I speak to are having hardware delays. They cannot get the hardware right now. Try to order a Tesla and you'll be on a year waiting list, right?
Right.
It's one of those that's pushing, well, if we can't build out our applications on physical hardware, then they're demanding down from the boardroom. We have to get those applications out to our customers on the public cloud. So that's the only place we have that we can go to right now. Okay, so let's talk about that complexity. Before you even get to the multi-cloud statement that you threw at me, well, now I
Right.
have a physical data center. I've virtualized into VMware and other private clouds. Now I have this third estate. Let's just pick one public cloud. Well, just that one move, there's going to be challenges and roadblocks that we have to face.
Right.
First one's always data residency. Now the data is outside of our physical perimeter, and that causes issues with visibility. And not only visibility, now I got to somehow enforce compliance. If I can't see it, how do I enforce compliance? That's one of the reasons why there's been a lack of government guidance in many of the countries we work with, because they know that's a challenge. They can't force that. But if you are going to, they can enforce some kind of regulatory compliance on the other side of the coin.
Right.
And so I don't want to get fined by the government for not meeting whatever compliancy. And Jermaine touched on that as well in his great presentation. So with these lack of controls, I'm exposing myself to so many vulnerabilities, such as just simple misconfigurations, as now going back to my comment about simplicity. Now we're asking our legacy engineers who have adopted a private cloud tool set to adopt a public cloud tool set. And Grant, it's just more complex because it's different terminology, it's a different language, different acronyms. It's a whole new world out there, and they're having to learn on the fly, wear many hats. And so if you're going to talk about just the hop to that one first public cloud, to your point, all right, but what if we have multiple public clouds?
Right.
It's exponentially more complex. And now we've gone to 5 or 6 different platforms, and you can imagine all the problems that's going to cause. So I go back to having the simplified single manager. Again, those checkpoint software firewalls. We put them in the private cloud. We can put them in any of those public clouds because checkpoint is agnostic.
Yep. And it's interesting. I think sometimes there's a tendency as we move into the cloud and you start to let your hair down and feel good, things like ELB, right? Someone who's been in the industry for 20 years and say, oh, elastic load balancer, but it's a load balancer. And I used to manage RF5 for years, so I'll dive in head first. It'll be no problem. And the data clearly shows it's not the same, and you can't just pick this tool up and apply it into the cloud. It's really quite different, isn't it?
It is, and that's why I'm saying it's a new language and it's a new skill set. And if you don't put in tools that can help you enforce those controls and build a best practices architecture, you're going to find problems going back and trying to clean up the mess. That's one of the 1-2 punches that I love that we're doing at Checkpoint and across the industry. Everybody's trying to find ways to not only enforce that data inspection piece of the firewall, but how do you put in a posture management solution that's going to give you that visibility into your public cloud? And so now you can force compliance with the virtual firewalls in your private data center, but on top of the controls of the public firewall in your public cloud, now you can put in some kind of solution that's going to give you visibility, misconfiguration control, tamper protection, and be able to run those compliance rule sets. But the one piece I have to caution everybody in whatever tools they're going to gather is make sure they have automation built into it. There's something that that stuck out in Jermaine's presentation about that dynamic, elastic. You mentioned the elastic load balancer, the ability to scale up and scale down. I mean, the fact that the cloud snapshot is different every second to every second. If the tools are not automated, the manual workforce will never keep up with the challenges and making sure that we enforce all the controls.
Yeah, that's to be able to move at the speed of cloud, right? I mean, that's really what's needed. I selfless plug. I do a podcast, as you know, Jeremy, Talking Cloud podcast. But one of the things, and you hit on it, and you're spot on. And if there's a flag I would wave for every customer as they make that move is get an architect, get a partner, and plan. Have a strat. You cannot just move and think, oh, I'll fix it later. I mean, you can, but it could be really catastrophic because, as you heard Jermaine mention, the Gartner statistic, 95% of all cloud failures are your fault. All cloud failures, your fault. So, you want to be in one of the 5%, right? You don't want to be in that 95%. And the reason that happens is it is very complex. And one little checkbox, Jeremy, can make the difference of exposing your entire network to the world or not, right?
Of course. And I think Gartner's actually updated that recently to 99%. They're really hammering it home. And I'll be honest, I see breaches in the headlines every day, and I've yet to see one where they say it was AWS's fault, it was Microsoft's fault, or it was Google's fault. It's always the company's fault. I've yet to see it where it's not been that. And that's honestly in these CISO talks that I have, I don't want to be in the headlines. And so I have to give them the confidence of whatever solution we're recommending. We recommend it early. I agree with you. Get in early, build an architecture that's well framed. But if security is the inhibitor, we need to flip that. In this space, we need to make security the reason you go to cloud. It's much more secure if you build it properly. It's kind of lingering the defense in depth comment Jermaine made. A lot of our customers today are still just in that private cloud step, and there may be toe in the water for public cloud.
Right.
And they say they don't need to really think that far out. I always pose the question in the boardroom, where are you going to be 3 to 5 years from now? You need to start architecting towards that and not architecting to where you are today. And so defense in depth really means it's a platform conversation. It can't be point and click solutions. So even though Gartner is recommending a platform and you don't feel like you need it today, I suggest that our friends look at platforms. If you're not into the public cloud yet, make sure whatever you're building today has that capacity to secure a public cloud, a multi-cloud deployment, and make sure it has that ability to go in depth in that cloud. What I mean by there is going into the workloads, Kubernetes, Lambdas, containers. Does it have the security tools that you can build into? That way, security is no longer the speed bump or the inhibitor. Security is there, and you can have the confidence to build into it and grow into it. I think growth is optional, is what you said.
Yeah, I love that one. What I wanted to mention was when I was at Dome 9, just before Checkpoint acquired Dome 9, we talked about cloud security. It was even, I think, before CSPM, cloud security posture management became a term from Gartner. And we've seen that entire space massively expand, haven't we? And you're touching on it now, where it really has become a platform. And I do want to caution people to going out and buying a standalone Kubernetes tool, a standalone tool for your workloads, some unique narrow tool. You really do need to look at a platform, because the cloud has expanded so much to allow you to, with the recent acquisition, I think that we made, to shift far left, right, into the developer world. And, so many of you may not be thinking you're going to be there very quickly, but I assure you, it's one of those, it's very seductive, it's very powerful, it needs to be controlled, but has some tremendous benefits. And, I think, Jeremy, I know you've heard the comparison of, pets and farm animals. And I think that dynamic of having an infrastructure that is so disposable and flexible and elastic has some unbelievable benefits long term. You just got to plan for them properly, right?
I agree 100%. And that is kind of where my discussions are today. No matter where you are in your digital transformation journey, you have to be forward thinking. And so if we're just going to go private, we got to think about the future. If we're just touching into public, we got to think about the future, which does mean eventually getting to a shift left security model. But Grant, I've enjoyed the conversation. I think it's always great to talk with you. And I do love your podcast. I look forward to the ones you have coming up.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
I don't see any questions in the chat, but if there are any questions in the physical world, we can take them.
Yeah. One stat I'll throw out just to, I think, amplify what's ahead of us. You're talking about the future, which is exactly right. I just read this. Cloud security today is about a $33 billion market globally, and it's forecasted to grow to 133 billion in 7 years. It's a compound annual growth rate of 18.1%. And what it speaks to is there's going to be a massive adoption, and we're all going to need to secure it. And we certainly want to work with you and Fujitsu and help you do that, make that move securely to the cloud. So I'm still waiting for questions if we have any. Yeah, go ahead.
Questions. But I will say that is that's an unbelievable stat, and it goes to emphasize how important it is to engage our partners like Fujitsu. If you're gonna build an architecture around a security platform, you have to have the right smart people in the room, get the professional services of our partners engaged. Come to Jermaine's team and make sure that it's built around a well-framed architecture.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Thanks so much, Grant and Jeremy, for that very
Thank you.
insightful conversation.
I see a question in the chat.
Just 1 second for me, please. I'm just going to remind those in the room with us that we have some refreshments at the back of the room. Please help yourself at any time. It's quite okay, and now would be while we're having the Q&A. Okay.
Yeah, okay, that's like such a great question, because it's one that everybody wants to, and I'll let you answer it, Jeremy. The question reads, are you saying that we must avoid a lift and shift when moving to the cloud?
Absolutely not. I am saying that if you're going to lift and shift to the cloud, let's do it properly. Make sure you have the InfoSec team, the network security team, the partners, architects involved, the checkpoint cloud architects involved, and just make sure you're building a space that is secure and so you can lift and shift successfully. And also keep in mind, you might have to flip that and shift and lift. There's a lot of applications out there. It's just easier to tear it down and build it up from the cloud.
That's a great point. And the other thing I'll mention is you want to make sure, and this is why the planning, because the lift and shift might work for parts but not all. And so you really have to make sure you're getting everything successfully how you want it in the cloud, because not everything's going to go. And
Well, think
again, I
about the
think it
second.
speaks to the planning.
Yeah, think about the
Yeah,
second part. Just because you technically have it working and you have lifted and shifted it, the compliance folks, the oversight and audit folks might not be able to see the compliance, and you might not be able to enforce that compliance. So it's a whole second project to enforce some kind of posture management.
yeah, that's right. And you got to automate it. You got to be thinking of the future on how all of that stuff can move at the speed of cloud. And a lift
Correct.
and shift generally doesn't conform to that.
Well, I don't think we have any other questions.
Okay.
I don't believe we have any more. We'll take questions in the room. Do we have any questions in the room? Come on, I'm sure you're here this morning because you have questions. Is that a question? No question. Okay, so since we have no questions, remember, file your questions. Feel free to ask them in the chat. But we're going to move on to Ronald now, and Ronald is going to deliver his presentation. And this is where you'll be able to examine or discover solutions that you can implement in your own organizations. So with that said, I'm going to hand over to Ronald.
Good morning. Can you hear me? Yes. Strong enough. Let me take this out. I'm gonna go back one slide. Okay, that's good. It's good. You can hear me? You can hear me. Okay, good. So thank you very much all. I want to appreciate the time from Grant Asplund and Jeremiah Kesselman. Grant is one of the biggest technologists in Checkpoint Software Technologies, and is in charge of the cloud strategy for all Americas. Yeah, I know. Okay, good. So I know you both wish to be here in Jamaica this beautiful morning. So sad that you can't travel today, sadly. Hopefully next time you can be here with us. My name is Ronald Godinez. I am in charge of the cloud strategy for Latin America. So I'm very happy to be here today in Kingston morning, this beautiful morning. And at the beginning, Jeremiah gave us a couple of beautiful insights about what we should take care of the cloud strategy. And then Grant Asplund and Jeremiah Castleman put the needle in the problem. For example, why we should take care of digital transformation to the cloud. So today morning, what I want you to share, and is my expectation that at the end of my conference, you will have the basics to build a cloud strategy to the cloud, to your journey to the cloud. You will be ready to building together a cloud strategy that give us the possibility to take advantage of this new digital transformation. So go ahead. Checkpoint is a cybersecurity vendor. We only do cybersecurity. For almost 30 years, we have been developing cybersecurity solutions. Today, we split our portfolio in three biggest areas. Talking about functionalities, our first pillar, it's in charge of secure the network. I mean, if I want to make a cloud on-premises cybersecurity branch, data center, private cloud, we should take care of some certain risks that we have. So we can rely on quantum products for solve these concerns. If we need to build a cybersecurity strategy to protect users and access to SaaS applications, Checkpoint has the harmony pillar, the second pillar. But today morning, I'm going to be sharing to you how to protect your journey to the cloud, how we can secure the cloud. And that's the main goal of CloudGuard. CloudGuard is a pillar of products that are in charge of secure your journey to the cloud. So let's talk about this. I decided to start sharing this first diagram to you because you may think, hey, Ronald, this is my topology. Like you can see, you have your enterprise headquartered, I mean your facilities, your data center on premises. But more than this, you're going to be integrating this reality to the public cloud. So what that means for us, you're going to have maybe more than one environment in the cloud, maybe more than one cloud provider. And you're going to have users connecting, accessing your services, and you're going to have internal connections, maybe VPN, something like that. So I'm going to stop with this diagram here. I'm going to talk about the challenges that are there, and maybe we can see it clearly. And at the end of this conversation, we're going to know how to build a cybersecurity strategy for this cloud environment. Feel free to make any question at the moment that you need. My peers here in the is going to be ready to answer in the chat. And at the end of my conversation, of course, I'm going to have time for you in order to share any concern that you may have regarding that. So, like we said, Jeremy and Grant put the needle in some of the problems. And actually, at the beginning of the conversation, some of the first challenges that we have in the cloud pop up in the conversation this morning. So there are security challenges to solve. This is a reality. This is a reality. In the morning we explained that. I guess you already know the answer of that. And the easy way to explain this slide that I am sharing to you is one of the biggest challenges that you are going to face in your journey to the cloud. The cloud providers can provide or can give us a blank check. I mean, they don't know, they are not clear what services are you going to deploy in the cloud. So the shared responsibility model applies for all the clouds providers. So, for example, you can see in the screen what the first three cloud providers said about cybersecurity: Microsoft, Amazon, and Google. And both of them, all of them agree that we must have a cybersecurity conversation with your partner, in this case with Fujitsu. Why? I had many conversations, many meetings, sadly, when the cybersecurity teams doesn't have the cybersecurity conversation when they are integrating the cloud. And there's a small read to add. What is a shared responsibility model? The easy way is you need to have a cybersecurity conversation with your partner in order to complete this area that is not covered by the cloud provider. And it's applied for every cloud provider, public cloud provider. It's not just AWS, it's not just Microsoft, it's not just Google. I mean, this is something that applies for all. So we need to have this conversation. This is the goal to know about shared responsibility model. There are things that are not covered by the cloud provider. So knowing that, you may ask, what things, what features they don't provide? Checkpoint had the possibility to make a very interesting analysis about mature cybersecurity features. I'm showing you a couple of screen captures of that. If we want to have a cybersecurity conversation, for example, with Fujitsu, We're gonna need to understand what your application is willing to do in the cloud. What are you planning to do in the cloud? Why you're asking us to help us to the cloud or to integrate to the cloud? So the answer is gonna be, the cybersecurity answer is gonna be in regards of your applications. Knowing your applications, we can talk about which features we are looking to have. But what that means to have these different viewpoints of security. Every single cloud provider understands different cybersecurity. It's not the same. It's not the same what Microsoft understands for cybersecurity. It's not the same what AWS or Google or any other cloud provider can offer to you. So imagine that you're going to have more than one cloud provider, which is the normality. It's the reality here in Caribbean, Latin America, and worldwide. Maybe you are doing the first step to the cloud, and you can tell me, Ronald, I have one cloud provider. But believe me, you're going to have more than one cloud provider, because this is the beauty of the cloud. You have the flexibility to decide which services consume for every single cloud provider. So knowing that every cloud provider has a different point of view of cybersecurity, there is a challenge to solve for cybersecurity. How can I make only one cybersecurity strategy? I don't want to be doing the job 2 times or 3 times at the same time, just because every single cloud provider understands different cybersecurity. We want to make we want to find the easy way to maintain, to guarantee, to maintain the cybersecurity at the level that we need to have, with the automation, with the facilities, the flexibility that you need. So there's the second challenge. Every single cloud provider has different level of cybersecurity, and again, that's why we need to have a conversation, a cybersecurity conversation, with Fujitsu, with Checkpoint, with this kind of partners that can help you to build this strategic to the cloud. So going ahead, let's talk about how to create the strategy. We only mentioned a couple of challenges, but there are more challenges to share. Today we don't have enough time, but we're going to continue. Knowing that there are challenges like Grant and Jeremiah shared to us early, let's talk about how we can create a strategic. And right now I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to change to a professor, to a teacher. Let's talk about some concepts that is a best practice for us to know in technology. If we ask you to make a cybersecurity strategic, you need to have some basics, There are many cybersecurity models. When I want to build a cybersecurity strategic, I need to base my strategic in one or any cybersecurity model. Today morning, I want to share to you one model, the model proposed by Gartner. Why Gartner? Because it's a well-known third party. They have a lot of confidence in Caribbean. I decided to share what Gartner answered to you, what abilities you need to have to build a cloud security strategy. So what Gartner said, when we asked Gartner, I am planning to integrate my facilities, my data center to the cloud. I want to deploy 1 server, 5 server, 100 server to Azure, AWS, Google, doesn't matter which one. Gartner gonna tell you, hey, let's take a look about, let's have a conversation about which abilities you need to have in regards to cybersecurity. So Gartner, at the beginning, Gartner tell us, you're gonna be connecting your data center to the cloud. This is a hybrid environment when we have applications on premises and in cloud. One of the questions that we have early was regarding the why public, why private, which is best. And my answer for them should be, let's ask to the application. Show me the application and the answer is going to be clear. I can tell you with my eyes closed, hey, use best the public cloud is the answer. Or the answer is the private cloud. No, 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 this is not the way. The way is why you are moving this application to the cloud. Tell me about this application. Because in regards to your applications, we need to build the strategy. What the Gartner said, Gartner proposed a cybersecurity model. They call this cybersecurity model CNAPP. CNAPP means Cloud Native Application Protection Platform. Gartner understands that you're going to be moving traditional compute, traditional machines from your virtual environment to the cloud, which we call this lift and shift. And it's normally the first step that we do when we are planning to migrate or to integrate the cloud. This is normal. Someone asked if it is not recommendable, something like that. I forget the specific question. No, it's the basic. Almost every single person do that. The question is, are there issues in this traditional environment? I mean, should we take care of this topology if we migrate to the cloud? What things we are not seeing in this topology? Are there issues that we may take care? So when we do that, Gartner sets the first ability that you need to have in the cloud. You need to have visibility, governance, and auto-remediation of your configurations in the cloud, of your politics. Who is in charge to review the politics, your cybersecurity policies, your network policies in the cloud? Is the cybersecurity department ready to have visibility of that or not? Because if we rely in the cloud administrators, in the engineers that are managing the cloud environment, how we know if they are making mistakes? And if you remember, Grant Asplund mentioned one number, 95%. This is crazy. 95% of the cybersecurity incidents gonna be related with mistakes, bad configurations, forgotten things from your engineers. So should be a way to have visibility, should be a way to have control, and should be a way to detect and remediate automatically every single mistake that my engineers promote. For example, what's going to happen? Normally, if I ask an engineer, hey engineer, help me, can you deploy backup of this server in the cloud? Sure, it's going to take 2 minutes. Good. What he's going to do? He's going to, if he knows the script, he's going to copy the script, he's going to change the IP, he's going to change the name and apply. If he doesn't know how to do it, he's going to go to Google, to GitHub, copy on a script and apply. And I can ask to this engineer, hey, that's good, beautiful, 2 minutes. You had the backup working and running good. Can you tell me which cybersecurity evaluation or analysis did you perform to this machine? How this machine impacts our cybersecurity qualification? And they certainly gonna tell you, no idea. I run the script. I run the script. And everything is working good. But cybersecurity should be ready to answer that. The cybersecurity department should know, hey, Ronald, I have visibility. This deployment was okay. I have the ability to analyze every single configuration. And I know that nothing is happening right now. I know that there's no important ports open. There are no certain access to the public internet that may not affect my cloud security posture management is the first concept that you need to remember. Second one, CSNS. CSNS means Cloud Services Network Security. Gartner understands that more going ahead, having visibility, also you're gonna need to have control over the network flows, over the segmentation of the traffic. For example, if you're going to deploy Kubernetes, if you're going to deploy certain network devices, are you able to control these policies? Are you able to segmentate these computes? Why this is important? You may think, no, Ronald, I always do microsegmentation in my private cloud. But why in the cloud? Actually, in the public cloud, we need to be more than ready to have control about the deployments, because at the end of the day, the deployment is going to be automatically deployed. So in on-premises, normally you have your virtualization platform controls, your management, but in the cloud, it's going to be 10 times more faster, 10 times more challenging for cybersecurity. If there is a CI/CD pipeline deploying, for example, Kubernetes, how we can control which politics apply for who can access these Kubernetes, his microservices. So you need to have control of your network traffic, for example, north to south traffic, east to west traffic. Are we ready to have this protection, these abilities? Well, Gartner said you need to have these abilities. Third ability that Gartner mentioned, CWPP. CWPP means Cloud Workload Protection Platform. And Gartner put the needle in the most hot topic today in technology, automation, CI/CD pipelines. Are we using a CI/CD pipeline in our environments? Because if we are using CI/CD pipelines, like for example, Jenkins, Azure Automation, this kind of automation servers, we will need to have the ability to analyze the workloads, and we will need to be ready to analyze, for example, serverless, Lambda functions, Azure functions. One easy question. Cybersecurity officer, I realize that in your environment you are using more than 100 Lambdas, more than 100 Azure functions. Are you able to tell me if some of these code serverless functions impact the cybersecurity qualification, or posture? It's complicated for cybersecurity to say, hey, no, Ronald, I'm not a developer. I am not a programmer. I'm just the cybersecurity in charge, but who can help me? Well, you need a technology to analyze that can help us to automatically analyze the code of the serverless functions and show you the issues that they may have. Hey, Ronald, in this serverless, the engineer leave a user and password right in the code, and this is something not acceptable. We should certainly change that. Well, this is the main goal of CWPP. So, Gartner answered these three abilities. There are, like I mentioned at the beginning, there are many cybersecurity models. The CNAPP model is just one. We may talk about for example, another model is the cybersecurity model proposed by Google, called 4C model. The 4C is a model developed for software, but remember, the cloud is software, so it's applied directly, and we can develop our cybersecurity strategy using the 4C model also. Okay, we're gonna stop here with the CNAPP. We continue talking about how we can build a strategy. Knowing that there are cybersecurity models, let's talk about what is the checkpoint point of view in regards of building a cybersecurity strategy. So knowing that there are certain challenges to solve. For example, you're going to need to deploy and protect at cloud scale and speed. That means that cloud is very agile. That means you can deploy a lot of workloads in the cloud. using scripts. And cybersecurity should be able to analyze all this information that is coming at high speed. And more than this, remember, we talk about the challenge to use more than one cloud. So cybersecurity can answer, hey, no, don't use more than one cloud provider. We're going to use only this one. No, the company going to ask you, hey, these services run best or is economically better if we deploy these other services in this other cloud provider. The answer from cybersecurity should be yes, we're going to do that. We're going to take care of that. So we need to be ready to protect workloads across many cloud providers, talking about different type of compute in the cloud. For example, we're going to use virtual machines, traditional machines. We can use workload, serverless, it doesn't matter. Cybersecurity should be ready to provide the high level of cybersecurity that you need. Modern applications built on microservices. What's happening in the cloud? When we decide to integrate our company to the public cloud or to the hybrid cloud, you're going to find yourself deploying modern applications, maybe APIs, which is the best way to share information today using internet. Most of you are going to find yourself deploying APIs, and I can ask you, are you protecting these APIs in the most agile way? Are you building a cybersecurity strategy that provides you the cybersecurity level that you need to protect layer 7 applications, web applications, or APIs? Hey, Ronald, I have a WAF. Okay, that's good. But the WAF needs, or the WAF suppose that you're going to have a web server. What happens if you don't have a web server? What happens if you have 100 of containers, serverless? And they cannot, they can be deployed for a moment, 10 minutes later you don't gonna have nothing, they're gonna change. Are you ready to provide this level of cybersecurity? Because we need to be ready. And then at the most mature level of cloud transformation should be, and we need to be ready to talk about software development lifecycle. It means DevOps. DevOps is development and operations. You're going to find your companies developing APIs, developing infrastructure as a code, developing applications. Are you, cybersecurity, ready to provide the level of security that your DevOps environment needs? And that's the 4 steps that Checkpoint presents to you. If you ask to Fujitsu, if you ask to Checkpoint, hey Fujitsu, hey Checkpoint, what are the basic pillars to build my cybersecurity strategy? So, first of all, the first one at the left or your right, no, I don't know how you can see. Let's talk about how we're going to protect this first movement to the cloud, how we can protect your lift and shift movement to the cloud, how we can protect your traditional environment, how we can protect your private cloud. Are we deploying a cybersecurity in your private cloud, in your virtualization platform? So first step is to build a virtual perimeter. I know it is not correct to talk about perimeter in the cloud because it doesn't exist, but trying to be clear, it's like, okay, Ronald, I'm going to move 100 servers. I need to make a protection. So let's talk about how we can help you to make this virtual perimeter for you in the cloud. This is the first step, network security and threat prevention. What it means? It means that every single workload that we deploy in the cloud gonna be in risk. I don't know if you had the time to make a test. I don't recommend to do, but if you are able to do, go ahead. In Checkpoint, in our cybersecurity laboratories, we at least twice per year, we had a test that exposed certain compute in some cloud provider. We installed some specific software inside this compute in order to monitor and have visibility. And from the last 3 years, the time between you deploy this service and this service start receiving attacks and monitoring visibility, it's less than a minute today. 3 years ago was like 5 minutes. This year, less than 50 minutes, seconds. Three years ago was less than 5 minutes. This year is less than 50 seconds. Since you expose, for example, a VPN connection or a RDP or SSH port, since it start receiving from malware, from boots, analysis to see what you forget to configure. If you forget to give protection, to provide protection to certain workloads, believe me, less than a minute and you're gonna see yourself in troubles. I was in a session similar like that 2 weeks ago in Mexico, and a customer, hey Ronald, that's true. I deploy a database weeks ago, and when I realized the database was locked because a lot of attempts to reach the system, they enable a cybersecurity policy to certain amount of failed intents. The database should be locked, and that happened. And he was surprised, and I said, yeah, it's the truth. We need to know that the cybersecurity challenge that we have is real. Second step, Ronald, right now I have my workloads in the cloud. I have certain workloads deployed. I have certain services running in the cloud. What else we need to do? Well, let's talk that you need to have visibility, automatic visibility, automatic remediation. And this is the second pillar, posture management and workload protection. Remember the CNAP model early? That we need to have CSPM, Cloud Security Posture Management abilities, CWPP, Cloud Workload Protection Platform. These are included in this second pillar in Checkpoint. So Checkpoint tells you, okay, first of all, we're gonna build our perimeter. Second, we need to have visibility, control, governance, and auto-remediation for your cloud. This is the second pillar. This is something beautiful because this means that we are able today, if you are using more than one cloud provider, to have only one view for you, only one control panel for you, for your public cloud strategic. And that's good. That's something really nice to know. I ask you, please send an email to Fujitsu, ask for a virtual session. We can show you, and we can provide you free licenses to test this technology. To have, hi Ronald, I have a Azure, AWS, Google. I want to know how Checkpoint is solving the challenge to have governance, to have auto-remediation of my configurations in the cloud. Third pillar, let's talk about web layer 7 applications, web applications. Hey Ronald, I'm deploying APIs. I am deploying Kubernetes. I am deploying microservices. Can someone help me to have the level of cybersecurity that I need to these automatic deployments without the need to configure manually politics, exceptions, learn traffic, because it's not functional today in the cloud. If I am going to deploy Kubernetes automatically, I don't have the time to put a WAF to learn traffic for 3 days. This is something crazy. It doesn't have sense. It's against about what we are expecting for technology. So application security means we need to have artificial intelligence supporting us to protect our applications. And that's the way that Checkpoint understands we should solve that. 4 pillar, DevOps. Hey Ronald, I'm gonna deploy a CI/CD pipeline. I am making infrastructure as a code. We are developing software. We are developing applications. Can someone help me to have visibility of the DevOps cycle, of the CI/CD pipeline? Yes, you should need today if we want to go to this new world. So going ahead, going back to the diagram which I shared at the beginning, let's talk about how we can apply all the things that I shared to you to this diagram. So, of course, at the beginning, you need to have a strong cybersecurity strategy in your on-premises. Hey, Ronald, I am using virtualization. I need to have microsegmentation, of course. Hey, Ronald, I have facilities. I have a data center. I have branch. I need appliances to protect my data center. Yes, this is the recommendation. This is the best practice. But what happens when I'm gonna connect my facilities to the public cloud? So, of course, remember the first pillar, we can deploy we can build a virtual perimeter in the cloud. We can deploy virtual appliances. It doesn't matter which cloud provider you have, we can deploy it. And the most important thing, we should have only one management strategic. Should not be different. Why you gonna have, hey Ronald, I have a cybersecurity strategic for this one in premises, in virtual, my private cloud, and I have another one for public. No, things should be easy. Things should be automatically solved. So that's the way that Checkpoint understands. We can have only one cybersecurity communications strategic for the cloud. This is the first pillar. Remember the fourth pillar of Checkpoint? This is the first one. Second one, hey Ronald, is there a service that can integrate to, that can be able to integrate to any cloud provider that I am using? And can you tell me what's happening? Can you help me to solve any bad configuration that my engineers can deploy? Yes. So can we go ahead and protect your workloads, your containers, your lambdas, your Azure functions? Yes, we should be. You need that. DevOps, Ronald, I'm going to DevOps. Can you help me to integrate this strategy to my pipeline? Yes. Can you help me to answer the most difficult questions? Can you help me to provide me the specific information that I need in the way that I need at the moment that I need? When someone asks me, hey, what's happening 2 weeks ago? What that means? Give me a second, I'm gonna show you what that means. Let me, going back, yeah, I'm here. Okay, and the third pillar, applications. Remember, we're gonna be deploying containers, serverless, web applications, APIs. How are you protecting that? Well, the way in that Checkpoint answer this question is we should be ready to provide a SaaS solution. It means if this is the evolution of a WAF, actually Gartner called this new kind of technologies WAAP or WAP, web application and API protection. Why is a new technology? Because it's SaaS-based and it should be based 100% on, it should rely on artificial intelligence to provide the protection. So Checkpoint has this technology and you can deploy nano agents in the web applications, in the APIs that you are deploying. It doesn't matter if it's for public cloud. This applies also for private cloud. Your applications can be here, your deployment. Your APIs can be in your virtual environment, and we can provide this technology integrated in your pipeline. So what it means, if your CI/CD pipeline deploy a Kubernetes-based application, you can program the CI/CD pipeline to integrate the layer 7 security there. And believe me, this is something beautiful. I hate to change the topology to integrate a new HA cluster of WAF, for example. I hate to make a maintenance window just to update the operating system of a WAF. No. Having a SaaS service, you're going to avoid all these nightmares to deploy appliances for cybersecurity in the cloud. This one is a great step please take a note of that. Today we can protect web applications, API protections, 100% based in artificial intelligence in a SaaS mode. And that's beautiful. And of course, going back today, we talk about make a strong strategic in your cloud security, in your private cloud, in your public cloud, your governance and automation, and your application security based on artificial intelligence. Remember how we start today morning? We start going back. Yet. Normally you're gonna have that. What we are talking about is you can have a strong strategic to help us to reach your corporate goals. That's the goal of that. That's the idea. How we can help you, how we can help cybersecurity, how we can enable the company to reach the corporate goals that they are asking to. What's next? Ronald, what's the last step in this journey? Well, if we solve the cybersecurity issues in your private and in your public cloud, the last thing to talk in a cybersecurity strategic is how we can have visibility about what is happening in my DevOps team, what kind of risk we are facing if we go to the new world of automation. So Ronald, I have certain engineers deploying infrastructure as a code, deploying applications in the DevOps pipeline, a CI/CD pipeline. Sure, that's good, we want that. But remember the conversation. We need to have a conversation with Fujitsu in order to understand which challenges are there. We are here to answer that question. So, more than talk about DevOps, what we are looking for to share today, this morning with you is that with Fujitsu and Checkpoint, we can help you to talk about DevSecOps. Why? Because we need to integrate cybersecurity in every single stage of the DevOps pipeline. Every single stage in the DevOps pipeline has challenges, different. It's not the same challenge that I face when I am coding, when I am building, when I am testing, when I am deploying, are different. We want to have only one single panel vision about that. So, to review our conversation this morning, what is the strategic that we offer to you? It doesn't matter that you are integrating your private cloud to the public cloud. It doesn't matter which one. We can talk about how we can help you to make a strong strategic for your journey to the cloud. Beginning for the very basics, beginning for the how we can protect your communications. Remember the first pillar? How we can provide you visibility and automation over your workloads. Remember the second pillar? How we can protect your containers and serverless in this same strategic. How we can protect your web applications, your APIs, and at the end, how we can protect your DevOps strategic, and how we can be able to talk about DevSecOps. Security, automation, everywhere. These are the three main goals that we can offer to you. Please reach the Fujitsu contact that you may have, your Fujitsu representative. We can help you, every single of you in your companies. We can show you, we can share to you the basics of how to integrate your company to the new technologies that you can take advantage today. So thank you very much for your time today. I don't know if we have questions in the chat. I know that I spend more time than I'm supposed to. Sorry for that, I really like to talk. Stephanie, there are questions in the chat? No? Do you have questions here that I can answer? Feel free. Question, yes. Give me a second to see if there is another microphone. There is another microphone. Okay, give me a second just in order to the people that are in the virtual connection can hear your question. Thank you. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Cameron Cook. I'm from cybersecurity firm eShore. I have a question about the working with DevOps. For instance, does Checkpoint have the ability, for instance, to examine things such as like blueprint code for AWS to see whether there are, you know, maybe mistakes might have been made in misconfigurations allowing for security vulnerabilities or holes?
Perfect. The answer is yes. The answer is yes. This is the hot topic. DevOps is the hot topic in 2022. If you ask me, Ronald, what's the main challenge that cybersecurity companies are trying to solve, is that how we can answer that? And the answer is yes, we should be ready to provide you this visibility. I appreciate your question. Thank you. Today, Checkpoint has a technology. Sadly, we don't have enough time today to share to you all the stuff that we are doing, but Checkpoint this year bought an Israeli startup company that they deploy a technology that can connect to every single stage in your pipeline. And we, using artificial intelligence, we're going to provide you all the insights in order that you should be able to know easy where there are the issues in your pipeline. Hey, Ronald, I have engineers deploying an application. Hey, Ronald, I have engineers using GitHub, using public repositories, private repositories. Hey, Ronald, I have engineers using certain software like Slack, Teams, for his daily basis. Can we have visibility if they are making some risk? Remember the SolarWinds situation, like many years ago. We all remember the security issue that SolarWinds faced years ago. That's why they don't have, at this moment, they don't have the technology to solve that. Today we have done, and yes, we can answer that. In your public cloud, in your private cloud, we should be able to answer that question. And yes, we can do that with this technology. Checkpoint bought this Spectral solution, and it's going to be integrated to our posture management right now. I guess in like a couple of weeks, we're going to have that integrated in the posture management. So more than have visibility of your cloud control and automatic remediation, we are able right now to integrate your DevOps pipeline to have this visibility. That's beautiful, believe me. I hope that I answered your question. Yeah, thank you. Is there another question in the... No more question? Yeah, go ahead. The microphone, please. Thank you. No, but because the people that is in the virtual connection, can you move the microphone? Yeah, it's because I want that people share your concern. Maybe you are, maybe you have the same question as many others.
All right. So my question is, are we able to see Checkpoint in action providing these services? So is there a location we can go to so we can see? He was asking about it, checking code for any form of vulnerabilities. Do you have any demos we could see?
Yes, we have. If you want, you can stay with me in a couple of minutes finishing the activity. I can show you. If many of you have the same question, we can talk with Fujitsu and we can have maybe a second session just to show you specific the technology that we have with, or a certain session specifically for you to show the technology. Yes, we have the technology. We can provide you, if you have a pipeline right now, we can provide you free licenses to test the solution in your environment also. Any part of the technology that we mentioned today, we can provide you.
Sorry, roll that back. You said something about free. Yes,
Yeah.
I would like to hear more about that.
This test is going to be 30 days free.
Oh, 30 days, okay.
Don't worry about that.
All right, no worries, thank you.
And this applies for all the attendees that we have in the virtual session. Any part of the technology that we mentioned today, you are able to reach Fujitsu, and we will be more than happy to share to you all this stuff. I mean, that's why we are here today, to share what we have to offer to you. Are there more questions, Sandra? Do you know?
We have one question, and I'm going to allow the person to talk live.
tell me the last question, and maybe we're going to open the microphone, to see if we can share. Glenn, can you speak?
Oh, are you hearing me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Great, thank you very much. Let me congratulate all the speakers on their presentation. Very informative. Certainly extremely useful things to mull over and consider. But with the advent of the Data Protection Act, which is pretty much at our doorstep, I'm finding more and more that one of the conversations that has to be, one of the items that's been included in any conversation in relation to cloud is the whole question of the location of the data, certainly as it relates to the personal identifiable data. I'm at the central bank, and I know a lot of the institutions that we work with are now asking us to provide them with network diagrams detailing exactly where our information, our data is stored. And these are banks these are financial institutions that have to do business with us and share various kind of information and data with the central bank. And know and one can only guess that they're doing this to ensure that they're in compliance with any requirement that might be required as a result of the implementation of the Data Protection Act. Therefore, one of the questions that I can envision being a very dominant question as we talk about cloud is exactly where is the data be stored? I don't know how is it that you can or how would you respond to questions like that? Would Fujitsu or whoever is providing the storage that is in the cloud be able to address and assure persons that the information is stored in jurisdictions that we don't have to worry about or concern about as it relates to data breaches, etc. Primarily as it relates to the coming on board of the Data Protection Act.
Perfect. Thank you for your question. It's a very interesting challenge that you face here to us. Let me answer you in two ways. The cybersecurity strategic that we are offering with CloudGuard, it focuses in protect your infrastructure, your workloads, and your code. It means that we're gonna go deploying in the way that you are growing in the cloud, in the way that you are learning best practices, deploying your architecture. We're gonna be growing with you. Focus it on the technology, focus it on the connections, focus it on the applications. Regarding the data specifically, we don't focus in the data. This is a different segment of cybersecurity, more related with governance. But yes, we can help you to provide the visibility or where your deployments are, where your workloads are running, what kind of risk your workloads that host this information, what kind of risk they are facing, and what's the result if we, for example, apply certain governance standards from the industry like PCI, GDPR. We can apply automatically for all your workloads in the cloud, and this is going to help you in these regards. But being clear with you, we don't have, our strategy don't focus on the data. This is going to be more related with governance, and governance is, of course, something important for us, but in our strategy, most focus on the infrastructure and the connections and the applications. But answering your questions, what we can offer to you is Checkpoint works together. If you want, every single of you, if you want, for example, hey, Ronald, I am going to select Microsoft. I am going to select Azure, Google. I want to have you both architectures developing my design, applying the best politics, the best practices. We can provide you that. So the answer for your best practices topology or design gonna reside in how can be able to help you at the first steps to deploy a strong design, a strong architecture. And we can offer to you, if you ask me, hey Ronald, can you call Microsoft? I want to have a session with the cybersecurity architecture from Checkpoint and the cybersecurity and the Azure architecture from Microsoft. We can have that for you. We both, I mentioned Azure. It can be the same with AWS. So we can solve many of your concerns regarding where is going to be the data and how we're going to face the challenges. For example, someone asked at the beginning, what's happening if I have information in Russia or Ukraine? Well, if we had the possibility to have a strong design at the beginning, we're going to solve that for you. Signs, the beginning. But yes, that's my answer for that. Thank you for your question.
Yes.
Another question?
But go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, if I could just add to that question as well, in terms of, do we have measures in place to meet any specific compliance requirements you might have in terms of data sovereignty and where it can be stored? That's one of the reasons why we like to have the early conversations, because if you have strict requirements in terms of where it can be stored, then we will decide where the cloud is supposed to be based on that. We have data center in Trinidad. We can do a private cloud on-prem, on island, if that is the need. And then as we are hearing from Checkpoint, regardless of where the cloud is, there is a protection that we will embed and integrate. But in terms of where it needs to be stored, that's where we have the conversation, and then we'll choose the cloud accordingly. Hope that answers your question.
Yeah, that certainly does, and I'm extremely happy to hear that, because that is something that is very, very critical and important for us here at the central bank, where the information is stored. And like I said, as of lately, a lot of our partners, the financial institutions, are now asking us to tell them where we store the data that they are going to be sending to us. That is going to be very critical very shortly.
Correct. That's perfect. That's perfect. So there's no more questions. I guess we are running out of time right now. We appreciate your time today. Please feel free to contact Fujitsu team. We are be here for you. We are more than happy to share what is happening with technology. What features are you going to have easy for you? Thank you very much for your time. Very happy to be here. Sandra, I don't know if you have some final comments to share today, people. Thank you.
Okay, as Ronald said, we're at the end of our session today, and we really want to thank you, those that took the time to come out today physically, and those online. Really appreciate your time. Again, apologies for the late start, but we do hope that we delivered some value. We know this is a complex area. We know there are challenges that you have in your organizations, and we really hope that we were able to provide you with some insights, practical guidance, key considerations into how to go back into your own organizations and develop your strategy for cloud security. Of course, our team are always, we're always available and ready to help you to solve your challenges. So please feel free to reach out. I would like to just quickly introduce the team that are here with us in Jamaica today. So I'll start with Denisha, Carly. Denisha, if you could just come up quickly and just say hi, especially to those, we've been operating in a pandemic, so you might not know your client executives. So here's Denisha.
Good morning, everyone. Hi. All right. I'm so happy that you guys are able to make it today. Thank you very much.
All right. And Matthew Robotham.
Hi everyone, I'm Matthew. Thank you all for taking the time to come today. It was very good presentation from the team and Checkpoint. Thank you.
Okay, thanks Matthew. Michelle McNaughton.
Hello, everybody. I think everybody should know me by now.
All right, Jerome Scott.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jerome Scott. I'm so pleased that you could take the time to be here with us for this presentation, and good to see you all.
Carita.
Hello, everyone. I'm Caretta, and like they all said, very, very excited that you guys could come, both face-to-face and virtual.
All right, Stephanie, that was the Fujitsu team, so feel free to reach out. This is those online. We also have our sales colleagues from the Eastern Caribbean online as well, so feel free to reach out. But Stephanie from Checkpoint, our partner.
So for the team that haven't seen the face behind some of the emails and everything, I am the territory manager. I appreciate the support that Fujitsu do in getting this event done. I was backstage, so that's why you see my peers over here, but in the Zoom, you're also gonna see Travai Suku, our security engineer, who is supporting us on all the pre-sales strategy that you have on cybersecurity. So thank you, Sandra. And I'm happy you joined us, giving us your feedback, and hopefully we have more on-site events.
Yes. All right, we're looking forward to that. All right, so with that said, we're going to end the live. Thanks to those who joined online. Really appreciate your time as well. We do know that you have options, so taking the time to spend with us this morning has been truly appreciated. So with that said, have a good rest of the week. Continue to be safe. We're still operating in a pandemic, so exercise safety for your well-being, and we look forward to hosting you again in the near future. Thank you.